The Chinese government is changing the names of places inside and outside of China. This is part of a long-term strategy to control the narrative and the fate of specific territories, sometimes without us even noticing. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. Real quick, before I begin, 5 years ago, Matt Shelley and I were in Hong Kong watching 2 million people march through the streets to protest the Hong Kong government and ultimately the CCP. So to commemorate it, China Uncensored is partnering with the Hong Kong Democracy Council to create the first ever digital Hong Kong Lenin Wall, a place for people around the world to show their support for Hong Kongers by writing digital post-it notes of support for Hong Kong. Again, that website is hkleninwall.com. I'll leave a link below. We built this site with a team of security experts. It's completely anonymous. It doesn't track cookies or any other personal information. It does not store IP addresses. Our goal is to get 10,000 unique posts by the end of June to show Hong Kongers that the world hasn't forgotten them. And again, to piss off the CCP. If you've already signed, please get your friends and family on to sign as well. Now, on with the show. So, old places constantly get new names. But it's not always easy to make a new name stick. Many people still say Turkey, even though it's now officially called Turkiya. Many say Macedonia instead of the official North Macedonia. But with time, new names usually have a way of booting out old ones. We no longer refer to Istanbul as Constantinople, for example, or Zimbabwe as Rhodesia. And all anyone calls Sean Diddy Combs these days is yikes. Many of us probably feel like it doesn't really matter what we call a place as long as people understand what place we're referring to. But in many cases, place names matter, and they matter a lot. In the Greek capital of Athens in 2019, as many as 100,000 people took to the streets to protest a deal that the Greek government signed with the Macedonian government. The deal was to settle a naming dispute and required Macedonia to officially change its name to North Macedonia. The protesters believed the deal didn't go far enough and therefore posed a threat to the territorial and cultural integrity of the Greek region that is also called Macedonia. And that sounds a little paranoid. Why would the Greeks be afraid of hidden dangers in something? Oh, right, they invented that tactic. Tensions boiled over with the demonstrations resulting in clashes between protesters and riot police near the Parliament building. So it's easy to see that place names can actually hold a lot of meaning, both for national identity and geopolitics. I doubt Skeletor would have commanded as much fear and respect if instead of Snake Mountain, his base name was called Bubblegum Bluffs. And because names are so vital, there are few places where names are as important as in modern-day China. One of the first things the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, did when it came to power in 1949 was to scrap the previous name of the Republic of China and instead proclaim the establishment of the People's Republic of China. That way there could be no doubt that the CCP was in charge and that China had become a communist country. This was along the same lines as many other people's republics and socialist republics that were established in those decades. So while many former socialist republics changed their names again with the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991 and the fall of communist regimes all over the world, the CCP has remained in power in China where it has held on to the communist mantle. It also never stopped with the name changes. In April, the Chinese government released the names of 30 locations in Indian-controlled Arunachal Pradesh, which borders Tibet, giving them Chinese names instead of the locally used ones. It is the fourth time since 2017 that the CCP has released names for places in Arunachal Pradesh, which it refers to as Zangnan. They've gone through more name changes than yikes. In a similar situation, the CCP insists that Taiwan be called Chinese Taipei in international settings, even though Taiwan's official name is the Republic of China. Chinese Taipei has been referred to as an imperial Chinese construction imposed on the people of Taiwan without consultation. The Chinese government claims both Taiwan and Arunachal Pradesh as part of its territory and has been willing to back this up with force. Chinese and Indian soldiers have repeatedly clashed in recent years along their shared border. The Chinese military often surrounds Taiwan with large-scale military exercises. I've never seen someone with so much weaponry feel so insecure. Within this aggressive approach of shadow warfare, the name changes serve as a weapon in the CCP's arsenal. Experts have said that the Chinese government's attempts to rename places along its border on all sides reflects its appetite for territorial acquisition. And the CCP isn't just weaponizing place names around China's borders, it's also doing it within them. At the end of last year, Chinese authorities announced that there is no more Tibet in official documents of the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Oh yeah? Then where did Brad Pitt spend 7 years? Answer me that, China. Since then, officials, state documents, and state media have referred to Tibet as Xinjiang in both Chinese and in English. Chinese media subsequently reported that the word Tibet has been geographically misleading to the international community, and rectifying it will help enhance China's international voice on Tibet. The change to Xinjiang has been combined with an international symposium on Tibetan studies in Beijing that seeks to rebuild the media's image of Tibet as a region very different from how Westerners perceive it. Yes, of course, the problem is that for far too long, Western minds have been poisoned by the wrong perception of Tibet, with things like the fact that the place was considered an independent state until the CCP ordered an invasion of it in 1950, annexing much of it by 1951. Or the large-scale destruction of Tibetan religious sites in recent years. Or the separation of 1 million Tibetan children from their families and their forced assimilation at Chinese residential schools. And if you're upset about these human rights abuses happening in Tibet, relax, Tibet doesn't even exist anymore. Thankfully, Xinjiang is totally different. It's a microcosm of China's achievements that is marching on the path of stability and prosperity, where it keeps making fresh progress in effectively running its society and achieving high-quality development. If Brad Pitt spent 7 years here instead of a war drama, it'd be a lighthearted buddy comedy. Sure, Tibet might look something like this, but in Xinjiang, everyone is happy, even the separated and assimilated children. The CCP's attempts to control the narrative of a region simply by renaming it can seem like a cheap trick, but unfortunately, we have actually fallen for it in the past. Back in 1944, a nation arose called the East Turkestan Republic in what is today China's westernmost region. But after the CCP seized power in 1949, it quickly took control of the republic, incorporating it into what has been known as Xinjiang ever since. The region has been primarily inhabited by Muslim, Turkic-speaking groups such as the Uyghurs. Today, the vast majority of governments in the world, the UN, as well as most human rights organizations, all use the Chinese Xinjiang to refer to the region. East Turkestan as a name is today mostly used by Uyghur activists, some of whom hope for the creation of an independent state in the region one day. I don't know why, though. I mean, according to China, nothing bad has ever happened to the Uyghurs in that region ever. The problem with the widespread usage of Xinjiang is that Xinjiang in Chinese literally means new frontier. And a new frontier is usually not a place associated with its own people, history, and culture, or freedom, apparently. Instead, a new frontier is an unstable and wild place that must be civilized by a more developed nation. You know, civilized. That is the attitude of superiority the Chinese authorities have approached the region with. They have damaged the natural environment, desecrated cultural sites, subjected Uyghur children to forced separation from their families, and detained as many as 1 million Muslims from across the region in re-education camps and prisons. Civilization camps. But apparently all that isn't enough suffocating control for the CCP, because just last week, a new report by 2 human rights organizations found that Chinese authorities have renamed hundreds of Uyghur villages and towns across the region. They've removed culturally significant names and replaced them with much more meaningful names. One village was renamed Unity Village, while another was renamed Red Flag Village. Because in China, a big red flag is a good thing. In another case, a woman who was released from a re-education facility tried to get a bus ticket home, but found her village didn't exist anymore. This is why one human rights lawyer commenting on the report said it's a state-imposed erasure and replacement policy aimed to sever Uyghurs from their history, culture, and civilization. And that is the power of place names. Changing them can raise one narrative while simultaneously burying another 6 feet in the ground. Accepting the CCP's recent name changes as new place names that we all need to get used to is equal to accepting the CCP's tightening control and human rights violations in Tibet and the Uyghur region, as well as its aggression against India and Taiwan. So maybe not. And hey, if you haven't yet, visit hkleninwall.com and leave a post-it note for Hong Kong. Link is below. Now, doing this project and this whole show would not have been possible without the support of viewers like you on the crowdfunding website patreon.com/China Uncensored. You can contribute however much you want, but it could be even as little as $1 an episode. Every bit helps. It's what makes projects like the Digital Lenin Wall possible. And the CCP is taking notice. That's why Chinese state-run media has called China Uncensored disgraceful anti-China garbage. So join what I call the China Uncensored 50-cent army on Patreon. And as a thank you to everyone who gives on Patreon, I'll respond to one of your questions or comments at the end of these episodes. And today's comes from Postum. Black Myth Wukong has been making waves lately. It's a game being made by China-based developer Game Science. Chris, do you know if Chinese game developers primarily target foreign audiences? I ask because the CCP likes to discourage Chinese citizens from playing video games. Thanks for all your great work. You know, I've been keeping an eye on that game because I'm a big fan of the Chinese classic novel Journey to the West, which is where the character Monkey King, or Sun Wukong, comes from. I'll probably do something about that game on my gaming channel, Gamers Unbeaten, link is below, but I do have some concerns. The CCP keeps a tight grip on the gaming industry in China. There's evidence that Chinese-made games could be spying on users. I don't know for a fact that's a risk with Black Myth Wukong, but I'm just letting you know that's a concern I have and I will be looking into it. I'm also not entirely sure of the message of the game. Somehow I don't imagine a game made in modern communist China will really portray Sun Wukong's transformation from a wild monkey demon to a faithful servant of the Buddha. But as for Chinese game developers targeting foreign audiences, China is already using games to spread its soft power. And the CCP does have its hands in all industries in China. Thanks for your question and your support, Postum. You can join Postum on Patreon by clicking that orange button, and remember to check out the Digital Lenin Wall. Again, the link is below, and thank you to everyone who supports the show on Patreon for making it possible to really stick it to the CCP. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.